So we're recording. Is anybody else hot in here? A little bit hot. So if you want to just like open up those windows right there, I'm going to open up this one. This is a little bit more of like, it's more than just your beginning freshman introduction to computers class. And because of that, I think I'll experiment with just like letting it be a little bit more relaxed. Generally in my introductory class, when we're lecturing or talking about stuff, I have everybody turn their monitor. Let me just see a show of hands. How many people would like me to add that structure in here to help you focus so you won't be distracted by the glow box in front of you? Right? Like you want me to help you focus and not be distracted by like Facebook. And raise your hand if you appreciate that help. And how many people want to have the flexibility of when I'm not really saying anything that's relevant to you to be able to look at Facebook? Raise your hand. How many people aren't raising their hand? It's like people don't care. Yeah, or whatever it is. Whatever. All right. All right, so we'll just see how it goes. Thought I'd start off by giving you a little bit of a tour, or a little bit about me. Do you guys want to know about me at all?
Yes.
What do you want to know? Ask away. AMA. AMAA. I started teaching at Fresno State in 1998. Long time. And I started teaching web stuff in 2001, and then my job duty shifted around 2005, so I did about 4 years of it, and that was really awesome. I got like a whole easy load for like 8 years, and so I was really interested in writing. So I had a lot of free time, and I was a bachelor living by myself, and so I just wrote every evening a bunch of books. So I wrote like 40, 50 novels. I'd write like a book a month. When I'd get an idea, I'd just write like, am I recording? Did I start that? I'd write 5,000 words, which is 20 pages, right? And it'd take me anywhere between 1.5 to 4 hours because I wouldn't censor it. And so it's just like, I'm kind of like, as a writer, just about me, I was sort of like a garage, the literary equivalent of a garage band, right? It's a little bit rough, but there's also a rawness to it, which is kind of beautiful. And I'd spell check it and publish it. And so then in 2012, 13, right, I had the opportunity at work here to reinvest in programming. And I doubled down, and like I finished my last book in 2013, like January 3rd. And then like just poured myself into, okay, how do we do programming today? What's the best way to do it? How do you build websites? Do I want to do websites or do I want to do mobile apps, right? So I just I've been learning. I've been learning a ton, which is great for you maybe as students because I'm pretty current. And for me, like the question, when I went to Rio, and Rio's also one of our instructors here, and I just have to give a little bit of like kudos to Rio because she likes to come hang out in other people's classes so that she stays current. And she could give you the best, right? And so that's a real inspiration to me too, and I love it. I love having you in here, one of my friends, and it's so fun just to get together and be able to hang out and do code. And so this is a collaborative learning environment. I know some stuff. There's going to be people in here who know things. Rio knows a ton. And at any point, if you know something that needs to be shared, share it. Because it's a big field, and it moves fast, and the people who write textbooks, by the time they get them out, too late, right? Things have shifted a little bit. There's new stuff, and so if you know something, share it. And if I get something wrong, correct me, because I certainly don't know everything. But I went to Rio in 2013. I'm like, hey, do people still build websites with Dreamweaver? She's like, oh, come here, my son. Welcome back. Let's get started. So I've just been doing a ton of learning since then. And for me, like, it's confusing. Like, what is there to learn? So I'm a fundamentalist, and there's a lot of frameworks out there that you can pick up, and those things have their place. So Bootstrap and jQuery, but a lot of times that could make things, they could be a crutch for somebody who doesn't have a solid grasp of the fundamentals. And so the fundamentals for learning how to build websites, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That's the fundamental, right? And so you need to have a solid grasp of HTML and CSS and JavaScript, of those three things. And then after that, you want to use Bootstrap, great. You understand what's going on behind the scenes, what Bootstrap does, and if it's not working quite right for you, you could fall back to the fundamentals. You want to use jQuery, great. You understand JavaScript, and you can fall back to JavaScript if jQuery is not doing what you need it to do. But learn the fundamentals first. That's kind of my perspective. So to build websites, you need to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And that will enable you to do a really good job on the front end. And then on the back end, and so the back end of a website, the way websites work is your client server, HTML. I actually think I have this in this image in my images. So Rio sent it to me because I couldn't find it at one point in an exact similar situation. Then later Rio's like, here it is. She sent it to me. Here we go. Used to be on my desktop for a while. But you have a client, which is the browser, and they want to see some sort of a resource, and they go to a website and they say, hey, show me this resource. And so they make a request, and that request goes over to the server. And the request has two parts to it, a request line and HTTP headers. And then a response comes back, and the response is a status line, HTTP headers, and content, right? But that's how the web works, and I forget why I was going to point that out to you. But oh, so the front end, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML is your content. So the HTML is the content. CSS is the formatting. And JavaScript is the functionality, right? So you want it to respond to the user. You need some sort of programmatic code. And that's going to allow your website to respond. So just to see that in action and see a little bit of some of the things that I've built. So I built this a year ago as a mock-up for a potential job, which I didn't get because I bid $75,000 for the job, and the person who got it maybe got it for $38,000 or $40,000, and it was kind of an interesting process just to bid on it. I just was like, whatever, I'll just throw out a huge number, and I knew it was going to be over my head to do it, so I had to build enough in to hire this other guy I know. Right? But this is what the mock-up I built. It was going to be a place where people could share curriculum, and I thought it was pretty great, full screen, and then as you fly over, right, that's all JavaScript right there. So if you looked at this, the HTML would be the text here, and then the CSS would be formatting it, and the JavaScript would be adding the functionality. So that's one of the things I built. And then over the summer, we had the opportunity to put on the Summer Web Boot Camp for 10 weeks, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. And we brought in incredible trainers, so like some really big names in industry. And so we had like 3 weeks on JavaScript with Ray Villalobos, and a week with Ryan Bonhart, who's this guy out of Florida who's doing some really cool things. And then we also had Zeno Roca and one other guy to teach us about web components, and then we also had Caleb Doxey teach us about server side. So I wanted to just share the front end and back end. I'm going to come back to that in a second, but here is one more thing that I built at the Summer Web Boot Camp. This is all JavaScript. There's no HTML and a little CSS, but the HTML gets built by the JavaScript. It's kind of a joke. I made it a joke. They're not all presidents, obviously, and Kermit the Frog's a cartoon character. Who do you want me to whack? Our project was whack-a-mole. I'm sure that'll never go through airport security quickly again. Arnold? Okay.
And to those critics who are so pessimistic about our economy, I say, don't be economic girly man. And to those critics who are, when I go to Sacramento, I will pump up Sacramento. When I go to Sacramento, I will pump up Sacramento. When I go to Sacramento, I will pump up Sacramento. When I go to Sacramento, I do not have to file any special interest. I have plenty of money. No one can pay me off. I do not have to file.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, so it's something else I built. I think that's important, right? Huh?
You actually go see it? It's on.
Yeah, that's on the web. Whack dash president. Yeah, no traffic. So, you get lost in obscurity. You learn to build stuff, and then you just put it out there. And so you got your front end, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then you also, in web programming, can build software on the back end to dynamically create pages and to serve those pages. How do we serve them? How do we dynamically add content into them? And so traditional languages for server-side programming. So when we talk about web programming, we talk about the client side, the browser, right? HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And then we talk about the server side. And server side would be like traditional PHP, ASP, ASP.NET, JSP, Cold Fusion. Those are some CGI, Perl, way old school. Those are some traditional server side. Newer school, PHP kind of dominated the middle of the 2000 knots, right? That's what Facebook was built in. And then Ruby on Rails came along like 2006, 2007, and that's been really popular. And then now the sort of like three popular ones are Node, Python, and Ruby. Yeah, is that right? Am I forgetting one? Node, Python, Ruby. Yeah. And so those are the three popular server-side programming now. But there's a new one that's emerging, which is Go. And Go is a programming language created at Google. Google specializes in web, and they needed a language that none of the current languages were meeting their needs. And so they created a programming language Go. So that was, to me, like, I'm very interested in that. And that's starting to gain a lot of popularity, and I've sort of taken that on as becoming like an area of expertise for me. And just 2 minutes on Go, because some of you who have been in my other classes are sick of hearing me talk about it, probably. But so Google, the best software engineering firm, in my opinion, to have ever existed, needed to do something. None of the current programming languages could do it, right? So they wanted to create a new programming language, and to do that, they enlisted the help. They hired Robert Gressmer, Kim Thompson, and Rob Pike, luminaries in computer science, some of the greatest minds in computer science today. And these are some of the same guys who helped build C, Unix, and UTF-8, so the bedrock of computer science. The C programming language, Unix operating system, UTF-8, the world's most widely used encoding scheme, right? And they helped build those things, and then they came to Google and they built this new language. They started building it in 2007. They released it in 2009 as an open source project, and then in 2012, like March, it was version 1. And so it's really only been around for 4 years. And if you look at other languages, C is like 40-something years old. C++ is like 34 years old. JavaScript and Ruby are about 20 years old. And so here's Go, this new language, right? It's not huge in the marketplace yet because it takes a little time for that to occur. But it's had massive adoptions by huge corporations, big names, Apple, Facebook. I don't know, I'm spacing on other names. Obviously, YouTube. All of YouTube is Go, and so for me, that's what really interests me for server side. And I've only been learning it for a year, but I've been teaching it out of state. I taught it here last semester, and because of what I've been doing with it, putting all these YouTube videos out about this language, lynda.com. So just learning a little bit about me, lynda.com hired me to teach that, and so that's like a huge feather in my cap, right? Or one of my huge current credentials to like pass muster to teach at lynda.com. And I just got back from that last Friday night. Went down and recorded that for 5 days. And then I also have a course on Go at Udemy. So if you just Google Udemy Todd McLeod, and you could click on that link, and it'll take you to my classes. And so here are the classes. And so here's that course on Go. And so you could come here and you could click on that, and you could look through the curriculum and the ratings and see if you want to take it. And if you do want to take it, I'll give you an access code to get in for free. And the only thing that I ask in return is that if you like the course, give me a 5-star review and write a really great review, because a 5-star rating and a great review, because that helps other people come take the class. If you don't like the course, then just talk to me in person, or or keep your silence, right? But don't go out and throw sand in my game. So you could get into that course with the coupon code Great Review. That's kind of blurry. Great Review. So when you are asked to pay, there's some place where you can enter a coupon code, and Great Review will let you into that for free. So that's a really nice thing if you got a little bandwidth in your life and you're thinking, oh, I like web, and this is a great language to know. It's better to be a big fish in a small pond rather than a small fish in a big pond. You learn C, Java, JavaScript, you're going to be a small fish in a big pond. There are a lot of people out there who've been coding in that language for decades, and you'll never be as good as them until they die. Then in 20 years, you will know it, right? But in Go, it's new. And so if you really, learn Go and get out there, and, it's a chance to sort of get good exposure. And, oh, yeah, no, I've been doing it for 2 years. Well, hell, it's only been around for 4. That's amazing, So there's access. Questions? Getting your money's worth? Worth your 30 minutes of your life so far? So I thought I'd give you some more examples, and I have this document that I put together last, and I'll give you access to this. I know our Blackboard site's totally wacky. I haven't gone through and set it up yet, and but I was up. I got a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old, and so there's just not much time. So I was up last night working on this till 3, and then I put in some more hours, but mostly I was trying to get the curriculum to teach and the examples for you, as opposed to making Blackboard look nice, but that'll eventually get there. I'm going to work as hard as I can to make this class as good as possible. So I have this document here of great resources, and I'll show you some of those and give you access to them. But one of the things, and we put this together last semester in this class, or in the spring last year, but one of them is right here. We have some nice sites by students. So I don't know if all these are up, but I'll show you a couple of them. We're done with that, we're done with that, we're done with that, we're done with that. I'll show you a couple of them so you can see what some of the students who took this class previously built. And this will be something that you could hold in mind when you hit moments of frustration and feel like this is too difficult and I can't figure it out. Because I'm a pretty capable person, and there's been multiple times where I've just been brought to my knees, like learning coding, where I've just been like, this is too hard, I'm going to give up. Like, I've hit that wall a couple times, and I kid you not, if it wasn't for needing to provide for my family, I might have been like, the heck with this stuff, right? Because there's times where it's like, I just don't get how callbacks work. What the heck's going on with callbacks or closures, right? And then, 6 months later, it's like, oh man, that's so cool. I totally understand how interfaces work. I didn't get that for the longest time. Now I get it. And then you own that. And then once you own it, right? And it's kind of like once you figure out the basic things of construction, okay, well now you can do stuff. Same thing. So here, these are just inspiration for you of what students were able to achieve last year in this class. You want to hit the front lights there, if you could. It's just the front light switch. The lower one. Come down. Yeah, right there. Yeah, front left. Cool. Yeah, I do them both. It's better. I really thought that was great. Full screen image, right? And obviously, sort of thought about like, oh, I'm going to have field notes in there and some relevant books, which, if you are trying to learn about this person, you might squint at those and try to figure out what's this guy reading. Maybe that could be a little bit more present. A quote on the wall, some information right up here, like, oh man, yeah, cool, this guy is into coding, and then here he put up, his name. I just thought that's a really nice job. And then he's got links up top. It's like, good job, man. Good job, Joshua. He's up in the Bay Area working right now. And so here are some more. Some of them will have been taken down because I haven't, that was great, but it's gone. I guess I should just get rid of it. Gone. People have cleaned up their cool. I was actually done for Reedley College. Gone. Little parallax, things moving at different speeds. Guy's a phenomenal guitar player. This guy just started out like a year ago, and now he's got a job at some company in Santa Monica, and he's doing great. Really applied himself, though, to learning everything. That was just notes. It's cool. You can see that's kind of like the one website I built. This is just learning some stuff. I haven't been through these in a year. Anyhow, some of what they did. This guy had a company inquire. He started learning Go in July, and he got an email from a company in Europe saying, we could pay up to 80,000 euro. We like your code. Can we talk? Whoa. So that was pretty cool. All right, so that's some of what you have to look forward to. Lights, please. Or I can get them. Thank you. Yeah, just hit them. Both. Is that okay? Can you see that all right? Okay. Done with whack a president. All right, so this is the outline I started to put together. And I'll make some videos. I'm going to record videos to all of this. And so you'll have videos for each of these. I just haven't gotten to it. I'll try to do this tonight. And the first question is, should you even learn web development, right? Like web development versus apps. So that's like one of my questions. And that's a question that I think, is relevant today. And so I was looking around for some data on that. One piece of data that I also wanted to look at was like web programming salary. All right, and just see what's out there for a salary. Well, that's pretty cool. And web developer salary, money, U.S. News and World Report. I think that's going to be pretty legit. I like that. And I think I'll take this and drop it in right here. So let's see. Web developer salary, median salary of $63,000 in 2013, 110 for highest paid, 33 for lowest. Computer systems design information services employ the largest share of web developers. The highest paid positions can be found in the metropolitan areas of San Jose, California, San Francisco, and Baltimore. And you can see kind of like the increase there, 2004, 65,000, 2010, 80,000. Not sure why it dropped off. Civil engineering, average web developer pay versus other jobs. Civil engineering, computer systems analyst, database, computer programmer, web developer, 63. Programming, 76, so not far away. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, there they all are listed there. One thing which is also good to know about is Hack Reactor. And so there's different boot camps you could go to, and they charge like $20,000. But they have some pretty awesome statistics. So you go and you work with them for 3 months or 6 months, and then they place you in a job. So they also make money. You pay them tuition, they make money, and then they place you in a corporation, headhunting, and they get a headhunting fee. And so they make another 20, 40 grand off of that, placing you somewhere. And so they have a 99% hiring rate. It's highly in their interest. That's part of their revenue strategy to get you into a job. And the average graduate starting salary is $105,000. So that's pretty great. So that would be somebody who really, you need to know HTML and CSS, but really is like JavaScript is their deal. And then here's this video about websites versus apps. And you guys will listen to me talk for a minute. So I'm going to pause the recording because I don't want to record somebody else's material. And this is something that I just discovered recently, last night. And I was really happy to discover it. And it's a pretty amazing world because I was so excited after I watched this. I tweeted, oh, you got to watch this video. And then I messaged that guy on Twitter. I was like, man, I loved your video. It's so great. This morning he's like, thanks so much. Like, whoa, what an incredible world. All right, so let's watch this video. Appreciate that. Got something out of it. Cool. What'd you get out of it? Talk amongst yourselves for 4 minutes, like what that means to you. So in your little group, right? Just like
how long was the
15 minutes maybe?
I thought it was remarkable he spoke that long.
Incredible, yeah.
And he didn't stumble hardly.
Yeah, no script.
Very smooth.
Yeah, just like, let me tell you about this. And passionate and knowledgeable and off the cuff. Yeah, great. That's like, when I saw that, I was like, dude, you're awesome. All right, so share in your little group what that means to you, watching that for a couple minutes. So if you want access to the document, which I've been outlining, all the things we'll learn, and a link to that video, Whiteboard Friday by Moz, I think it is, M-O-Z, you could write down this URL, goo.gl, capital R3CZXV, and that will take you to the document where I'm outlining my lecture notes and the curriculum for this class, and then you could hit that link and look at the resources that that individual has on there. goo.gl/R3CZXV, capital R. It's a pretty good one. Short URL there. Take a long URL, make it a short URL. And that'll bring you to this document. You can see a couple of people popping in there. And then video and transcript right here, and that's Moz, and the dude's name is Rand Fishkin. So I think I'll add that in there. Rand Fishkin at Moz. There we go. And it's a video board Friday or something. Cool, so there's that. So you guys will have some homework tonight, just kind of doing like the introductory overview, get to know me, give you guys a little bit of information. And the homework which you'll have for the next week is how many people have done Code Academy, HTML, CSS? Raise your hand if you've done it. Okay, cool. So that's going to be like the first thing we're going to do, is just all of us are going to go through that. And so if you come to Code Academy and go down to the bottom, you have HTML and CSS. There's different things in here like making a website. That's not the one we're going to do. We're going to do HTML and CSS. And so I want you to be done with this by next Friday. Or sorry, what's today? Tuesday. Next Tuesday. So next week, this needs to be done. And you know, they say it estimates 7 hours. So an hour a day, right? And you'll be through it. And that's going to give you a nice introduction. And as you go through it, you know, like the first time you come in, it'll say, hey, you're going to start here, and then you're going to read what you're going to learn in this one step. And then once you've read it, you'll enter your code right here. And then once you've entered your code, you'll see the result over here. And then once you've seen the result, you could submit it, and it'll tell you if you did it right. And so if you get stuck, you know, I mean, play with it between now and Thursday. So if you're stuck when you're in class on Thursday, we can work together and get it going. So it's just a really sort of good introduction to HTML. And then in addition to doing this, I'm going to put some lectures up. So I'm going to make lectures for all this stuff. And I'm going to introduce you to some of the things which are important to know if you're going to be moving into this arena and wanting to do things in this arena. And so one of them is having an editor. I asked Rio, hey, should I be using Dreamweaver? She's like, come with me, my son. That's not what she said. I can't remember what she said, but the sentiment, that was kind of the sentiment.
I would never say that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so.
That was the impression that gave to me. She's very kind. So, you know, we'll use editors like Webstorm or Atom or Sublime. I'm going to use Webstorm. The reason I'm going to use Webstorm is because Webstorm is made by JetBrains. JetBrains also makes IntelliJ. IntelliJ is what Google used to build Android Studio. We use IntelliJ for our Java classes here on campus, or you know, we suggest that you use it. That way, if you end up in Android programming, you have familiarity with the JetBrains way of doing stuff, right? It is free for students, so you could just go to JetBrains student, and free for students, and then you just submit a request with your student email, and then they give you a license. And so we'll be using JetBrains to write code. And I'm going to make lectures showing, you know, how do you use Webstorm and get it set up. And there's a lot of really great things about it. One of my favorite things about Webstorm is just the live edit. So different editors have this, but I couldn't show you, or you know, you'd have to figure out how to do it in Atom or in Sublime. I don't know how to do it in those. I use this. And so if I wanted to, I could, you know, I thought one thing I'd do is I'd just kind of give you a little bit of a, this is what your workflow is going to look like. But before I do that, one thing I also need to say, and then I'll show you the live preview, is that GitHub is you just have to know about it. And if you're in Rio's class, you had some exposure to it. But GitHub's a place where you could post your code. So kind of like at Facebook, you post pictures and it keeps a timeline of your life, right? And at GitHub, it keeps a timeline of your programming, okay? And so you connect your code with GitHub, and as you're coding, it's watching as you code, and it's keeping track of everything you change. And then you kind of reach a point where you're like, I like it right there, and you kind of say, just like you'd post something to Facebook, hey, here we are at the beach. I like us at the beach. I'm going to post that moment. Just you do that with GitHub. Hey, I like it right here. I'm going to post this moment. And it's not so other people could go check it out. I mean, though they can, and they do. And people get job offers because they see your code on GitHub. We have one student I was telling you about received an inquiry from a company in Europe because they saw his code on GitHub. So we'll be using GitHub to sort of, it's like this repository of our code, and you'll be able to take what you create and send me the link, and I can look at it. Oh, cool, there's your code. So easily share code. And if you ever screw something up, oh, my computer got stolen. Great, no problem, your code's all on GitHub. Right? Or, oh crap, you know, I just ran that process and it destroyed all my files. No problem, roll it back to the way it was that last snapshot you took, you know. So it just remembers everything. It's really powerful. So we'll use GitHub and we'll connect to GitHub. And let me see if there's anything else about that editors, and that requires a little bit of familiarity with terminal. So, you know, we use a graphical user interface. icons. We click on things, windows, we move them around, right? And that's graphics, graphical user interface. Back in the day, this was the user interface, command line interface. And so we did everything with commands. So there's like 10 commands, maybe, that you need to know, basic commands, right, for using the terminal. So we're going to go back to using some of those commands just because familiarity with CLI, command line interface, is important. And there's 2 command line interfaces out there. There's Windows flavored, which takes different commands, and then there's Unix POSIX. I don't even know how you say that, POSIX, but that's like what, Unix family of operating systems, like a Mac, they have different commands, right? The entire Windows Mac rivalry, they couldn't do things the same way. Otherwise, I don't know, they would be an oligopoly or something. I don't know. There would be no switching costs, and people could just move right back and forth between them too easily. So we'll be doing some terminal stuff. So just give you a little bit of a workflow, right? I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm just going to call it 001 workflow example. And then that creates a folder. I'm naming mine just sequentially there, numerically, so that it's going to keep this nice sort of arrangement of as we go through. I'm thinking we might get up to the hundreds for sure. We'll get into the hundreds. I don't know how high of examples and files and things like that. And then I'm going to create a new file here. And so I could do an HTML file, and I'll just call it index. And index is the default common way for your main page in a website. You call it index. Sometimes people call it default. And it's going to have the extension HTML or HTM. As you get further into web programming, you'll create templates and things like that to build your pages dynamically. And then those extensions might change, right? But just starting out, HTML is fine. And then I have the basic setup of an HTML page here. So these are tags, right? You're looking at tags, and tags are made up of elements. And so if I wanted the paragraph element, here's the paragraph element, here's the paragraph tag, right? So just a distinction there, just some of the terminology you'll hear when learning about web pages. That's the which one? That's the element. Here's the tag. And then we have an opening tag and a closing tag, right? And so anything I put in between here will be a paragraph, right? So there's my paragraph, and I put a little paragraph right there. And some tags don't have a closing tag. So maybe I want to put in, anchor has one, image does not, right? So I want to put in an image here, so I put in my image tag right there. And you'll notice that there's some code completion happening. I just typed image and hit tab, and it filled in some stuff. Some of the things you see are attributes. So tags can have attributes. They're additional pieces of information we're giving to the web browser. The web started out in the early 90s. Internet started in the 60s, right? And it was used by military. It's called the ARPANET. And then they opened that up to academia, maybe in the 70s or the 80s, I don't know, right? And then in the 90s, Tim Berners-Lee at CERN said, you know what, we could send some markup, because they were just sending text files back and forth and they were hard to read. We could send some markup, and then we could create a piece of software to read the text that comes over, and it'll look for the markup, and it'll format things a certain way. So things in between a P tag will be a paragraph. We can have an image tag, and we could put an image in. So if I had some image right here, I think I have an image in 02. Do I? No, 03. I have one in 03. I don't know if it'll auto-complete that. No, it won't. There we go. And what does it pick? And I just took a picture. There it is. Can't remember the command. It had been a while. So I just put in an image, and then the alt is like for, the alternative text that will be displayed if somebody hovers their mouse over it or the image isn't there. So here is a picture of anatomy of an HTML element, right? And I'll rephrase this, and instead of it being a paragraph, I think I'll do a title first, H1, right? So that's heading 1. There's like 6 of those. And I'll call this Anatomy of an HTML element. And this image shows the different parts. You know, so there we go. And then I could come up here in Webstorm and I could preview that. Anatomy, you can see the H1. The browser took that markup and then knows to display it in a certain way, right? And, you know, and then it made a paragraph, and then, you know, it added the image right there. And so that's a little bit of a review of like, hey, there's the opening tag, there's the closing tag, there's an attribute with its value, there's the enclosed text. So we just use these tags to put stuff on a page. And the different tags aren't used so much for formatting today. We want to do all of our, they aren't. You're not supposed to format with your tags, even though you're seeing formatting here. It's like old school. It's a holdover. And really what we want to do is we want to baseline all of that to 0 formatting. So we'll reset the browser. The browser has defaults. It's going to present things with certain tags a certain way, like H1 is presented as a heading 1, right? We don't want to use our HTML for formatting. That's not what HTML is for today. It will convey semantic meaning. So the semantics of a tag, right? If it's H1, we know that's a heading. So when machines are looking at our code, they'll be able to understand the page. When Google search engine's looking at our code, they'll say, oh, heading 1, heading 2, article. They'll understand the structure of our document and be able to make more sense of it to deliver it to somebody. So that's all that the tags are for, and then we will target those tags with our CSS and say, format all of my heading 1s this way. So we do all of our formatting in our CSS. But anyhow, so here are the tags, and we created a little web page. And then one of the things I really like about Webstorm is live preview. So I could go to run and edit configurations for debugging. And I could come in here, and I've already put one together. But I need to put in a URL there. And the URL that I get is this one, so I'm just going to grab that URL. And then go back to edit my configurations. I could also get there right there. And I'm just going to apply OK. And then I could start debugging. So same thing. It looks the same, right? But the cool thing about this is I could have that right there. And as I change this, okay, maybe I want that to be, and you can see, whoa, as I start changing things in my code, right? Maybe I want this to be H6, right? It will change it, didn't really change it. Maybe I want it to be a paragraph. That's not a paragraph, it's still massive, right? Anatomy of HTML. Why? Anyhow, that was supposed to be awesome, like a cool little preview where you'd see that automatically change while I'm changing.
Refresh your browser every time you make a change.
Let me try just launching it again, see what happens. So there, it just did it, right? Now it's small. Let's make it H1 again, see if it does it. Maybe it's not keying off of the tags, but it would work off of the styling. Anyhow, that's live preview. And it's great if you have multiple monitors. So like, let's say, okay, now I'm happy with that code. You know, this is like, okay, accomplished something. I'm just looking for that file. Hold on. There we go. I accomplished something. I like the way this is. It's perfect. I'm going to come over here, and then I'll clear out my screen, and I'm in 001. And so then I'll just do a git status, and this is GitHub. It says, hey, that stuff's changed. So I'll say git add all this stuff. So that's what I just added, git add all that stuff. So I first said git status, and it's saying, you know what? You got some stuff that's been deleted or changed or modified or whatever, and you got some new things. Cool, I have some changes. I'm going to add it all to my little timeline Facebook for code up in the sky called GitHub. I'm going to add it all, and now I'm going to commit it. And I'll give it a message, which is what that little, so I just say git commit, and it's GitHub, so it's git. So I say git commit -m, give it a little message, and the message I'll say is adds live workflow example code. Right, so I remember, oh, that's that point where, in class I did that thing. And there's all the stuff that's going to add, whatever. I don't need to read it. It's kind of scary. Other people look at it. If you're new to command line interface, right, it can be a little scary. But other people look at that and be like, whoa, you must really know what you're doing if they've never had any experience with it. Dang, I've never worked with a computer in that way. And now I'm just going to say, push it up, man. Push it up to GitHub. And so it goes up to GitHub. And right now it's doing that. And so here, pushed everything up to GitHub. And then, cool enough, right? Somebody's like, hey, where's that code? And I just say, oh, go check it out on GitHub. It's under my HTML, CSS repo. And so you come in here and you're like, sweet, there it is. And I want to copy that into my code. So I'll just do raw, and it gives me the raw. And then I don't get any other crap when I copy it. Command-C, bring it into mine. I could run that code from class. Right, so you can see how well that's really useful. And you can have private repos. And there's more depth and complexity to GitHub that really helps teams work together well on the same code bases and not overwrite each other. But that's just like the basic, like let's start using it and keep a repository. So that's a little bit of an introduction to HTML and tags. Just looking here to see if there's anything else to show you. We saw that one picture with anatomy of an HTML element. And here's how you do comments in HTML. So in Webstorm, I just hit Command / and it puts in the correct comment no matter what environment I'm in. If it's HTML, it gives me an HTML comment. And you'll notice like some of the files that I had right here, like one of them is a Markdown file. I haven't tried this. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to do the same thing, Command / right? Doesn't do it. But if I was in JavaScript, it'd give me that kind of a comment. Or if I was in Go, it'd give me a Go comment. So, I used HR here. And HR is actually kind of like, it says you shouldn't use that. You should use CSS. That's what, if you look at the documentation today, right? It says, oh, that's kind of using HTML for formatting. You should use CSS for formatting. If you want to put in a line between stuff, do it with CSS. So that's that. Element tags, attributes. I put together one other picture here before I found it's a comment, absolute versus relative. Here, I'll look at this one. We'll talk about that. So that's this picture here, MDN, and then I put together one more image which has a little bit more going on with it. So the element, then this is all the tag, right? All that, and then it's also the opening tag, and there's the attribute and the value, and then the closing tag. Same thing we already saw. I put that together before I saw that there was an example on MDN. I was like, oh, that's better. So there's relative URLs and absolute URLs. You'll hit that. So relative URL is like from this file, relative to this file, go to this picture. And so to get to that picture from this file, we go into pick. So we're going into pick. And then inside there, we want the anatomy of an HTML element PNG. So that's what we want right there. And then an absolute URL would be like, you know what, no matter where you are, wherever you're asking for this resource, if you're on the web, it's going to give you that resource. That's an absolute. And that's just sort of the basic introduction. So anybody have any questions? One more thing which you'll see, and so in the videos I put together, I'll do this right here, right, in this example page, close others. So let's say I wanted a list, unordered list, and I want ULs an unordered list. You could also do an OL, ordered list. So, let's do OL, ordered list. And then I want like 10 items in this list. Okay, so that's like I could write that, and then I could just hit tab, and whoa, it just wrote all the code for me. And so that's called Emmet, and it's a little shortcut plugin that you could add to your editor to quickly write just some redundant, repetitive code. And that's one of the videos I'll make. So your homework between now and Thursday is do the Code Academy, HTML, CSS, not the creating websites one, the HTML and CSS one. So let me just make sure you're clear on that. Code Academy. And then also check our Blackboard site like tomorrow at noon, and I'll have that all cleaned up for our class. And I'll have hopefully I have all those lecture videos made. Make those tonight. And then you could go in and say, okay, which editor do I want to use? And you could choose. You don't need all three. All right, so here I've listed 3. You just need one. If I wasn't using Webstorm, I would use Atom. If I wasn't using Atom, I'd probably use Sublime. Sublime's hugely popular, right? Atom is kind of like the next generation to me of Sublime. Atom is free. Sublime is nagware. It'll nag you to pay them. Give us money. Give us money. And it works, because eventually at like 3 in the morning, you'll be like, fine, quit showing me that. Here's 20 bucks. It's made in Australia, I think. So yeah, so those videos will be up. So your homework's just let's see if that came up. You go to the bottom and it's HTML and CSS. Make sure it's that one and not make a website or something like that. It's HTML and CSS. So my intent is to flip the classroom. And what that means is I'll have all the lectures done for you before class. And you'll watch them before class. And then you'll come in here and we're just going to hang out and code. And that way when you're like coding, like how do I do that thing? I'm here, Rio's here, all of your peers are here, and we could help you. Right? Because you can watch lectures at home. You can sit there quiet at home. Right? But when you're at home and you're coding, you're stuck. I'm not there. But if you're coding here and you're stuck, cool. So I'm going to really try to stay ahead of the curve and get all those lectures done. And this is only my 2nd time teaching this class. So I don't know, like the pace, you guys just stay in touch with me about the pace. Because if I give too much too fast, you know, I don't want to blow people out of the water. So if you feel overwhelmed, but at the same time, I got to teach to the middle. But at the same time, you know, I got to move the class forward. But just stay in communication with me if you start to feel like I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I'm at that point where I'm on my knees, taking me to my knees. So how is today for everybody? It's good? Okay. Good pace. You learned good stuff. Learned something new. You got a good introduction. How many people feel excited and enthusiastic? Like, well, this is going to be kind of cool. Like in 5 months, we're going to be building stuff. And you'll have a knowledge base, right, that's pretty specific and unique and marketable and demanded. That's pretty cool. And there's been success stories even from the class from last semester, or last year, sorry. Right? Some of the students who really applied themselves and, worked and, they've gone on and like, whoa, they're doing great, One guy got a job in Santa Monica. Another guy got that offer from a European company for up to 80,000 euros. Whoa, that's amazing, right? Applied himself. But it is a devotion, right? So it's like if you want to be successful at something, 2 things come to mind for me is one is focus. Like choose it and focus and do it. Like you just got to do it. It's like playing an instrument or a sport. You got to practice a couple hours a day. So a couple hours a day, you just make it a priority. That's my priority. And 2 hours a day, I'm going to code. Come hell or high water, I'm coding 2 hours. And if I miss it on one day, I'm making it up on the next. If you have that kind of focus, dedication, devotion, in a year, you're going to be good. Right? And then the other thing is to get in front of what's coming and let it hit you. Like if you want to be successful. So HTML, CSS has been here a long time. But go. That's my other little piece of advice on being successful. That's from Bill Gates. Anybody have questions? Daniel?
Are we going to do the CSS animations?
Yeah, you're totally welcome to do CSS animations. Well, that's one of the things I love about this class is there's like this broad spectrum of things you could do. And I don't have that planned in. We'll see how things go. The main text that we're going to be building off of, maybe you noticed or saw us at the bookstore, I don't know, but just use the online version and then like find some way to send this guy $10. You know, because he's written the best text that's out there, and he keeps it up to date online. He's a cool dude. We could even like do a video hangout with him at some point. Like I've been in communication with him. But it's Shay Howe, and it's you know, so after we get done with Code Academy next week, we'll start in on this. And let me just go back one. And so he has HTML, CSS, and advanced HTML, CSS. And so here are like transitions and animations. It's like, you know, number 20 in the list. So it's further down there. But, you know, if you're kind of bored with what we're doing, man, get in there and start doing some stuff. And then when you put something amazing together, we'll have you come up and teach us something. So, yeah, so this will be one of the main resources. And this is also listed up here. That's like one of the things I want to give you are just great resources. And here I've kind of refined out that big document, just sort of distilled it down to the absolute best. And so here are like my notes. Is that this document? That's the older document. And but anyhow, you got access to that. And then Code Academy, HTML, CSS. And then there's the Shay Howe one. And then this is, you know, if you want additional sort of material to read, MDN Learning the Web is pretty cool. I just saw that. So that's that. All right. Let me take a roll, and then you guys could. How late does this class go? Till now?
5:50.
5:50. Oh, good. Cool. And then we could go early or hang out.